I've been working on this for so long now. I'm just so worried that it's not gonna turn out good. Oh no. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm an artist, I'm a musician. I like doing fun artsy things because that's what brings me joy. And I made this sketchbook. And now there's a lot of tutorials on YouTube about how to make your own sketchbook. I followed none of them because I'm stubborn and I just feel like I know the right way intuitively. Yeah, I finished this sketchbook. I've had it for like over a year and I thought it would be fun to make my own sketchbook and make it like exactly how I want it. I, first of all, headed to the land of all things art and art supplies, Michael's, of course. I set out to, first of all, find the most perfect paper for my sketchbook. So to do that, I was in the paper aisle for 2 hours. I was looking through all the paper. I was trying to make sure that it was good and it was gonna work really well for the purpose of being in a sketchbook. For me, when it comes to paper in a sketchbook, I need something that is thick enough to handle gouache and watercolor and whatever I want to throw at it, basically, but not too thick to the point where I can't have too many pages in the sketchbook, or not too thick to the point where I'm like, ooh, this is such nice paper. I don't want to waste it, and I get to be a perfectionist. So what I basically did was I was looking around through all the different types of paper, and when it comes to art paper, there is a way of measuring it where you measure the thickness in pounds, which feels very silly because, you know, like 140-pound paper, that sounds ridiculous. But I was looking at all of the paper and I came to the conclusion that the best type of paper for what I wanted to do was paper that was in between 80 and 98 pounds. I found this watercolor pad that was 90 pounds and it seemed to be about right. And I was also looking at, you know, they had regular sketchbooks that I could just buy. And I thought about, should I just buy a sketchbook and not make my own? Am I being silly? This sketchbook would do. It would be a good sketchbook. Should I just buy a sketchbook? I honestly almost did. But I was like, no, I want to embark on this journey of making my own perfect sketchbook. So that's what I did because I'm a silly Billy. So I decided on buying the watercolor pad. It was 7 by 10 and that's just a bit too big for me. My last sketchbook that I had was 6 by 8. So I realized if I cut this in half, I could get basically 5 by 7, which is just a little bit smaller than that. That should do. That seems about nice. And it was like the perfect thickness. It was 90 pounds. So, you know, right in that sweet spot there. And it was only $10. So I took it home and I got to work right away. So my technique basically that I was planning to do was I was gonna fold these pieces of paper in half and then hole punch them and then put them all together and then it would be a sketchbook. I was gonna use the whole pad and then I realized that would be a lot, that would be excessive, and I decided on 30 pieces of paper, which then would lead me to have 60 pages in the sketchbook, which, you know, if I'm using both sides, that's like 120 surfaces to use, which I do use both sides of my pages in my sketchbook. And I was counting the pages in my last sketchbook and that one only has 50. So I figured 60 could be an upgrade. It would be nice, especially because it's just a little bit smaller. I got to work folding and then I got to work hole punching and it took a long time. I was looking at what I had and I was like getting worried that this wouldn't actually come together into a nice sketchbook. I'm just so worried that it's not gonna turn out good. Oh no. I've been working on this for so long now. I think we're almost done. This is what I've got. So we'll see. I just have a few more steps left here. I hope it actually comes out good, like a good sketchbook. We'll see what happens. We'll see. Gotta trust the process, dear God. But it was starting to come together, actually. I hole punched all of the little folded pieces of paper and I put them together on these binder rings. I just had these 5 binder rings. They aren't that expensive if you want to buy your own, but I put them on the binder rings and I realized they kind of didn't work just as like folded pieces of paper, and that I would have to cut them in half because just the way the sketchbook was, like, when I opened it, it was weird. So I cut them in half and then I was putting them on the binder rings and then they weren't quite aligned. And then I had to fix, like, and punch a few more holes and fix where the holes were and then had a sketchbook, basically. I have to go to bed soon, but look, it's almost done. Look, it's like basically a sketchbook. Oh my god. Oh my god, it's basically a sketchbook. I basically did it. It was actually coming together. It was a bit thick, but it's not too thick. Don't take that out of context. But I had to figure out what was I gonna do for the front and the back of the sketchbook. And for the front of the sketchbook, I actually just took the front of the watercolor pad. Well, I cut a piece, I realized it was a little too small, and then I glued it to another piece, which I hole punched to be part of the front, and then it worked and it was really pretty because I really love the kind of cherry blossoms that were on the cover of that watercolor pad. And then for the back, I took basically, I have these kind of cardboard envelopes that I use to send out like small art prints and things. And so I took one of those and I cut one of those up so it could be the back, and it has like a part that has an adhesive and I adhesed that. I kind of did the same thing I did on the front where I like had a smaller piece be the part that had the actual hole punching on it, and then I used the adhesive to adhese that to a bigger piece. And I think the cool part is, let me show you quick actually, there's kind of this flap back here and I could like put stuff in it and use it as like a folder. So I think that's kind of cool. That's nice. Yeah, and then I put a sticker on the front, this pretty moon sticker that I have. Came in the package of these pants that I got from Lotus and Luna. And so I had this pretty sticker and I put it on the front, and then on the inside I put a little name tag. It's meant for books, but I thought it could work cute for the sketchbook, and I put my name. And yeah, now I have a sketchbook. Would I recommend that you make yourself your own sketchbook? Absolutely not. That was way too much work. Unless you are a masochist and want to spend 4 hours hole punching pages, folding pages, even all of the other like tutorials that I've seen, that looks so tedious. You could just go buy a sketchbook at the store. It would cost like a little bit more, but here's the thing, my time is valuable. So like this might have cost me like $10, but in time it cost me like 3-4 hours. And also now I have a whole bunch of these little circles all over my floor from the hole punching. So I would recommend you don't do that. Unless you have only $10 to your name and you really want a nice sketchbook, that's fair. Or if you just have literally no money but you have a whole bunch of art supplies and paper lying around your house, okay, fair. But if your choice is buying a pre-made sketchbook like this at like Michael's, or I actually got this one at Barnes & Noble, or putting one together, I would say just buy one. I mean, this does have some kind of charm to it, even though it took me a long time. It's like a homemade meal. Maybe if you're making like a really fancy soup from scratch, that might take you hours. But you made the soup and it's really nice. You know, even if you could have bought it from the store for 20 bucks, it's the homemadeness that gives it that charm. And I think this sketchbook does have that charm. So I don't regret making this sketchbook. I wouldn't do it again. Want to see me actually use this sketchbook? Click the subscribe button because I will be using it and showing you what I do in it, and I will eventually one day finish this one and then give you a sketchbook tour of this one just like I did the last one. Thank you for watching and coming with me on this little journey. Let me know if you try to make your own sketchbook. Yeah, let me know what you think of this sketchbook. Thank you for watching. Woo, love you. Bye. Woo woo.